Hey folks, and welcome to another video of mine. In today's video we are going to be taking a look at RDR2, the story mode. So this is Red Dead Redemption 2 and I'm playing this both on the Xbox Series S and on the PlayStation 5, and this is going to be a comparison video, and we're going to take a deep dive into which console do I personally feel you should play this on. So with that said, let's get started. First things first, I do want to clarify that on the Xbox Series S I had the HDR turned on, whereas on the PlayStation 5 I had the HDR turned off. And as you can see in this particular cutscene, there is a difference in the way color gets reproduced on screen. I think it's because even the game captured the HDR info or data, and what you're seeing on screen is a result of that. Now as far as color reproduction goes, I particularly enjoyed playing this without HDR. If you take a look at the screen, the Xbox Series S, sometimes it actually crushes the black, so there is a lot of detail that gets missed out because of those crushed blacks. Some people may like it, some people may not. I personally like more information in the darker areas, and I think the PlayStation 5 surprisingly did a very good job in this case. Now I haven't played the PlayStation 5 version with the HDR turned on at all, but what I am going to do is I'm going to turn the HDR off on the Xbox Series S a little later on, so that you get an apples to apples comparison and a fair comparison. So you get a complete idea of how the colors play out once the HDR is turned off as well. But as you can see, as far as the cutscenes go, it is standard affair. I mean, the cutscenes are really smooth. There is no frame drops that I experienced on both the consoles as far as these cutscenes go. The Xbox Series S really held up very well, and I believe it was extremely stable. Now if you are expecting this to run at 4K 60 FPS or even full HD 60 FPS on any of these consoles, then you will be disappointed, because it still has not been optimized for the current gen. Now we still have the backwards compatible version of this game running on the current gen consoles. So what you see on screen is still the same old backwards compatible version. Now what's interesting is the fact that while the Xbox Series X, although it's not in this comparison, it gets a full 4K resolution, the PlayStation 5 on the other hand does not. The PlayStation 5 runs RDR2 at only 1920 into 2160p resolution. And this is exactly what the PlayStation 4 Pro ran it at. So in terms of the resolution, you don't really get a bump in the resolution unless you are playing this on the Xbox Series X. Now coming to the Xbox Series S, the S dishes out 1080p, and that is locked at 30 FPS. So you don't have any of these consoles with unlocked frames. However, even though it is locked at 30 FPS, I'm going to speak about what I feel about the way this performs in terms of the frame rate. But in terms of the resolution, with that additional, you could say, resolution which you have on the PlayStation 5, even though it's not a full 4K, it's still comparatively better on the PlayStation 5. And I'm going to show you a perfect comparison between the resolution on the Xbox Series S and the PlayStation 5 in a bit. Now, combat mechanics of the game, they all work the same. So as you can see in this particular scene, you won't find any difference. So both the versions of the game, they have the same textures, they have the same objects, so nothing is extra, you could say. And in terms of the visual fidelity, again I would like to say that the PlayStation 5, just because it is comparatively better, obviously looks better. So even if you play this on a 4K television, and let's say you're sitting at a distance of say about 6 to 7 feet, you will definitely enjoy the PlayStation 5 version more. So I can only imagine how well this will actually look on an Xbox Series X. Now let's talk about a little bit of those reflections in the water as well. Well, both were able to perform well even with all those reflections happening in the water, and the PlayStation 5 obviously looks better again, and the colors in this case, obviously the auto HDR is working on the Xbox Series S, but on the PlayStation 5, well, there is no HDR. HDR is completely turned off. Now, even when I slow this particular footage down, now this is where I would actually like to talk about the frame rate. Now, both the consoles have a locked frame rate of 30 FPS. However, this game actually demands quite a lot out of both the consoles still, especially the Xbox Series S. So what I noticed is, although they are running at 30 FPS, I found that the PlayStation 5 actually performs slightly better in the frame rates department as well. So not only is it better in terms of the resolution, but it's also comparatively better in terms of the frame rates. Now, I don't know whether you can actually make it out in this footage, but it is evident, even when you pan the camera around, you would notice that the PlayStation 5 is just slightly better, and it's not a significant difference. Like, for instance, we saw a significant difference with Assassin's Creed Unity when I played it on my PlayStation 4 Pro and on the Xbox Series S. The FPS boost, boy oh boy, it makes a huge difference. But in this case, there is not much of a difference. So if you're sitting at a distance of say about 7 feet, you would hardly be able to make it out. Now again, comparing these scenes side by side, now in this particular scene, I had turned the HDR off on the Xbox Series S. So this is with HDR turned off on both the consoles, Series S and PS5. And as you can see, the color reproduction, it's more or less the same time of the day, but the colors look very different on both the consoles. I think the way the color gets reproduced is slightly different. In terms of the assets, like the characters, whether it's the foliage or whether it's your vegetation or your background, they are more or less the same. The PlayStation 5 somehow again gets a bump because of that added resolution, and here if you take a look at it, it feels a little more smoother when our character, our protagonist, is actually moving around. I don't know if you can actually make that out, but do let me know in the comments if you feel the same. I feel that the PlayStation 5 looks slightly more smoother, which means that it may be performing at a solid 30 FPS, and the Xbox Series S may be losing a few frames here or there because this game is demanding, really demanding. But in terms of the overall lighting, they were more or less the same, assets more or less the same, background characters more or less the same, so nothing was missing. It was not like, some of the trees were missing from the background in the Series S. It was not the case at all. It was the same throughout. Now let's take a look at a very, very fast moving scene, and what I did in this one is I slowed it down to 1/4 of the speed, not even half. The previous footage was at half the speed, but this one is at 1/4 the speed. Just to give you an idea and to show you how it actually runs on both the platforms. So here, I think you will be able to make out the difference in this particular scene, because at 1/4 the speed, look at the PlayStation 5. It just feels smoother, does it not? Again, comment away as to what you feel looks better. Now, in terms of the way the game looks, I again felt the resolution definitely boosted the performance of the PlayStation 5, and it feels so much better, so much sharper, and so much smoother overall on the PlayStation 5. So if I really have to pick a console that I need to play this game on, without a doubt, between these two consoles, I would recommend the PlayStation 5. But if you really want to play this on a console right now, the Xbox Series X is the console to play this on, because you get it at a native 4K at 30 FPS. We are hoping that this gets a current gen update, but we still haven't heard anything from Rockstar Games yet. So, well, it'd be exciting if we actually get a 60 FPS boost on this. Let's hope, fingers crossed, we get it sooner than later. Now, this particular scene, again, look at PlayStation 5's footage. Somehow it feels better, definitely. And in terms of the vegetation, in terms of the foliage, again, it's the same. The assets, the background, all more or less the same. The only difference would be in the sharpness. And speaking of the sharpness, while you're playing this on a 4K television, unless you are pixel peeping and sitting really close to your monitor or your television, you won't be able to make a difference. If it's 7 to 8 feet that you're sitting at, a distance of 7 to 8 feet that is, you won't be able to make the difference out. But yes, if you're up close, then you definitely will be able to make the difference out. Let me give you an example. Now take a look at the grass and the overall dirt on the screen, and this character, it's totally pixelated on the Xbox Series S, whereas on the PlayStation 5, it was not. You can go back to the footage, you can pause the screen and take a look at it as well. Coming back to the overall performance, now this particular game, hey, this is a highly sought after game because a lot of people, they really love the story, they really like the way it flows, and I haven't even shown you the cinematic camera angles, which actually makes this look like a full-blown Western movie. If you haven't tried it out, there are different camera angles as well. You can even play this game in a first-person camera mode. How cool is that? It's insane. Although, I felt that the third-person mode is comparatively better, but for all you first-person shooter lovers, hey, you've got a first-person camera mode, so take advantage of it. So there are 4 different camera modes, and you can enjoy any one of them based on what you actually like. Overall, the PlayStation 5 performs really smoothly. I think it does a solid 30 FPS, and although it's not the best console to play this on, in this comparison, it clearly comes out as the winner. And although the resolution on both the PlayStation 5 and the PS4 Pro is the same, I still believe this looks better on the PlayStation 5. And between the two, that is PlayStation 5 and Series S, no doubt it's the PlayStation 5 that you should actually play this on. So let me know in the comment section as to what you feel about this. And hey, these are the type of videos that I put on my channel. So in case you like the video, please hit that like and subscribe button, and also hit that bell icon in case you want to get notified with all my latest videos. With that said, it's a wrap for this one. I will see you lovely folks in my next video. Until that time, take care, happy gaming, and may God bless you all.